Jesus saved my life. Jesus saved.
Hey everyone, this is Warren with unashamedofjesus.org, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be taking a look at an article I came across from uh, the West Virginia conference after the United Methodist Church General Conference. We're still seeing the devastating effects of what happened there in the General Conference, and we're still seeing the collapse of the UMC as we're continually seeing the downward spiral of the apostate church. So let's take a look at this article, and I'll put a link to the description in the video. And so here we see it here, pretty vindictive conference aftermath. And this is a very recent article, just came out the other day. Many United Methodists in West Virginia, Little Kanawha district, were devastated when they heard the changes this year at the General Conference. Local UMC leadership has done little to ease the pain. One person says, "I'll go to church, but I'll never join a church again," should be the words that break my heart of any pastor. Unfortunately, I've heard this statement from multiple people in this district as it's concerned with the district superintendent, Loretta Isaiah, but instead she seems focused on damage control rather than pastoral care for her actions as displayed since the General Conference took place in April 23rd to May 3rd. West Virginia has seen relatively small number of UMC churches disaffiliate. Many came to regret this after the General Conference made sweeping changes, most notably the church's stance on marriage. So what it's talking about, so just to kind of get you up to date on what's going on here, is going into the General Conference, obviously the UMC had an agenda to change the Book of Discipline, to reject the Word of God, to allow gay marriage now, to ordain LGBT clergy. Okay. Now the issue is that a lot of Christians within the UMC feel blindsided by all this because none of their pastors or DS or anyone or bishops gave them a heads up that this was a definite going to happen. And that's what a lot of people I think need to understand is that there's a lot of small rural churches within or at least there was. I mean, as they continually dwindle and be closed. But a lot of Christians who have gone to these churches, and a lot of them were traditional churches for many years. But outside of that local church, many of them really didn't know what was going on within like the big picture, the conference. And that's a big reason why I do these videos is kind of give people more of a deeper perspective of what's actually going on within the denomination, because a lot of people are only have like tunnel vision, only know what's going on in their local church, right? But they don't know what's going on in their entire denomination, which they're actually yoked to. You are in, because it's important to understand that, because all your money that you are tithing and everything is essentially going to the denomination and the conference. Okay, it's not just going to support your local pastor. All right, it's going to the general conference. It's going to the denomination. So all of these, issues and things you are actually supporting. You are actually a part of, whether you agree with it or not. And so that's why it's important to know what your denomination believes and where they stand, because you are ultimately yoked to this. And so a lot of Christians are feeling betrayed and blindsided here in West Virginia, because they're obviously, a lot of them are very Bible believing conservatives. And that's why I do these videos also, because I know there are a lot of still good Christians that are stuck within this denomination. And I'm trying to expose them to what exactly is going on in the pulpits across their denomination. And so this is what's going on here. And so Laity in Isaiah's district reported potentially as many 10 churches will exit. So, as and this is a thing that I don't know if it's been given enough attention, is that a lot of churches have already left the UMC, but a lot of churches want to leave the UMC, and the UMC won't allow them to. And so this is what you're also seeing here going on in West Virginia. There's a lot of churches that are trying to leave. They're trying to disaffiliate because that would be the natural response by a lot of people, would be like, well, why don't you just leave the UMC? Well, because they're trying to make it almost impossible for churches to leave the UMC because they're money hungry, because they are dwindling, they are drying up. All right. And this is what you're starting to see. And so a lot of times they make it to the point where the only option for you is to just close your church, because they make it almost impossible to be able to leave, because they claim the ownership of all your church building and property. Now, some have gone so far to already remove the word United from their building signs. Right? So there's some of them that the churches aren't even disaffiliated yet, and they're already removing the name, you know, and because they don't want to be associated with this blasphemy, and I don't blame them. And that's the right thing to do. At least one is closed. Another has a large percentage of congregants to depart to the new Global Methodist Church plant. And so this is what you're seeing also. The Global Methodist Church, a lot of UMC people are going to Global Methodist churches. So in response to these concerns, the DS Isaiah initially held meetings at select churches along two West Virginia Conference delegates to the General Conference. Isaiah framed the meetings as to correct and provide accurate information as what has transpired at the General Conference. But despite this claim, congregants from neighboring Methodist churches were discouraged from attending the meetings. Oh, there's a surprise. So the UMC says, oh, yeah. And this is the problem. And this is what I try to expose also as much as I can, because I've experienced it. You know, the bishops and the district superintendents of the UMC are as wicked and corrupted as you could ever imagine. And I know a lot of people don't believe that, but until you actually experience it for yourself, they are wicked. These are really wicked people, and they will do anything they can to sell their soul and to make money. And they are all in on whatever the cult group, which is now the UMC, whatever their mission is, they will do it. No matter, it doesn't matter. And so Isaiah went as far to direct one pastor not to speak further to her own congregation about changes. So this is what's happening. All right. So the DS is telling the pastors, to the own members of these churches, don't tell them what's actually going on in the churches. Again, this is why I do these videos. You know, people are like, oh, why are you picking on the UMC? I'm doing this because this is exactly what is going on. A lot of people who are within the UMC, their pastors are not telling them the truth. They're not telling them exactly what is going on behind closed doors, and they never will. They won't tell you the truth, because if they told you the truth, you would leave. Okay. And they don't want that, obviously. So they'll keep you blinded as long as possible until they're leaving, and then they don't care. So upset congregants at a meeting she hosted was serving stout memorial. Isaiah stated that she was acting out of concern for the pastor. Days later, Isaiah recommended that that pastor take a leave. so, and this is, I mean, I hate to laugh, but this is exactly what they do. Okay. If the pastors then do not go along with the agenda of the UMC, they get rid of them. They fire them for whatever reason. They'll find a reason. They'll find a reason to get rid of them. And so this is why a lot of the pastors are just conforming to the UMC, and you can't, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but a lot of them you can't trust, because they have become corrupted. Now, I'm not saying all of them have. Some of them might tell you the truth, but the majority of them won't, because their job is on the line, which It's sad that you have to view your a pastor job, as a job, but the meetings themselves were neither helpful nor informative. Attendees spoke, felt their concerns were not taken seriously, and Isaiah hid behind the conference course. And that's what they always do. Isaiah assisted meetings of Stout Memorial or staff parish meetings. Churches would be able to request not to have practicing homosexual clergy as pastors of the churches. Okay, and this is one of the great lies that they continually tell conservative churches is that, oh, you have a choice, you have an option of whether you want to have gay clergy or have gay marriages in your church building. That's a lie. You don't have a choice. What do you think what's gonna happen to you if you refuse these people? Yeah, you're setting your church up for a lawsuit, and eventually they'll just close you. They'll get rid of you. Okay, if you don't if you and they did this, they tried to do this in the PCUSA. Okay, Presbyterian USA. Okay, I'm not talking about. I know people get upset when I mention different denomination names, but it's called the PCUSA. But anyway, the PCUSA tried to pass a law in their own denomination that every church must affirm their liberal beliefs or they would be kicked out. Okay, and I think that it didn't pass actually, but that's what they tried, and they're going to do this in all of them. Okay, just be aware of that. Okay, one former chair from another church attended the meeting, felt the answer was disingenuous and contrary to what the church has been told in the past, which isn't surprising. The SPPR chair stated that she and other laity felt betrayed by the conference and were disappointed. Yeah, they're all betrayed. Everyone in the UMC has been betrayed. If you don't understand or realize that, I don't think you realize or understand what actually is going on. When asked why the changes made to the discipline came as a shock to so many, why their pastors had not informed them of the possibility they would occur. So there you go. And this is what I'm saying to you. It was a done deal when the UMC went into this general conference. This was a done deal that they were going to make these changes. They already knew that, and the pastors already knew that, but the pastors were not telling any of their congregations about this. Why? Because they knew that their members would be upset and that many would leave, and they don't want that. It's all a numbers game at this point. UMC is all a business at this point. They just want to retain as many people as possible for money purposes. That's what it is. This doesn't answer the question why the conference didn't actively work to make laity aware of the potential changes. And this is another thing that I've experienced, and I know a lot of people experience. The UMC, even though it allows a lot of its members to become laity, the laity are treated very, very badly. The laity are treated as if you are like the bottom of the barrel, and you will, if you are laity, you probably already know what I'm talking about, or if you haven't experienced it yet, you will. If you come into contact with a bishop or a DS on an issue, you will find out that you are low on the totem pole. They will treat you like that, and they will tell you that. So, clergy, according to laity interviewed in the district, repeatedly told their congregants that changes were unlikely and that they should wait until after the general conference to make a decision about leaving. Okay, so this is where the deception took place, because they're telling then the members, the laity, hey, the general conference probably won't make these changes, so don't disaffiliate yet. However, the UMC knew this was going to happen, and not only that, they changed the rules, made it almost impossible for churches to disaffiliate. So basically, trapping anyone who was still stuck there for money purposes. It's all a money racket. And now, so the only way that you can leave or disaffiliate is basically you have to re-buy back all your property and assets from the UMC, which they never owned to begin with. So it's all extortion and money racket. So then after this, the DS, they took a 6-week absence, hopes that pushback would dissipate. The DS lost several clergy and laity who most likely leave soon, alongside those who feel they cannot remain in the UMC. And so the district superintendent's response was, instead of actually dealing with these things and being honest, they took a 6-week vacation and hid and hopefully everybody would stop bothering them. That's not how it works. Like I said, I'm sorry for laughing. I mean, it isn't funny, but it's such a disaster. Isaiah, the DS, then removed 2 more pastors who given a notice to step down by Labor Day. They didn't allow time for their congregations to have a new pastor appointed. In the case, the one church will have to close because of this. Allow the congregation to have a pastor until they close until August. The second church will spend its last month and a half without pastoral care. So the DS, on a power trip, just fires more and more pastors that don't. And then what happens is ultimately the churches close. Or they'll send you one of these LGBTQ clergy, which the church doesn't approve of, So this is exactly what's happening, not just in West Virginia, but all across the country and even the world in the UMC. This is why it's in total collapse. And of course, you see the district office did not return a request for comment, which isn't a surprise. So there's the article. I'll put the link in the description of the video. Let me know what your thoughts are on this, and we'll continue to report on this and the total collapse of the UMC. Until next time, God bless you all.